Hello and welcome to this 2-hour English lesson. This is a long lesson, but you're going to love it because you're going to learn English through stories. And in this lesson, we're going to read 4 different news articles together. And from these news articles, you're going to learn a lot of advanced grammar, complex sentence structure, and natural vocabulary, and even correct pronunciation. So through this lesson, it will be divided into 4 parts. You'll read one story, you'll learn all the key words, and then we'll move on to the next story. Welcome back to J4's English Training. Of course, I'm Jennifer, and this is your place to become a fluent, confident English speaker. Let's get started. Let's go onto my computer now and look at our first article that we'll read together. Hello and welcome to our article. Let me read the title for you. Most metaverse users don't even make it a month, WSJ reports. Now we're talking about the metaverse, and you might recognize this avatar, this cartoon. This looks like Mark Zuckerberg, doesn't it? The founder of Facebook. Well, Mark Zuckerberg created the metaverse, which is a virtual reality universe. I have never used metaverse, have you? But that's what we're talking about in this article. So metaverse is the name of the virtual reality world that Mark Zuckerberg has created. And WSJ, I'll just point out that this stands for the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal. Since it's the most common, most popular newspaper in the world, we use an acronym. An acronym is when you take a word and you shorten it by just using each first letter of that word. So you already know and hopefully use some common acronyms. For example, FYI. What does this stand for? For your information. So we take F, Y, I. Another one. What does this stand for? As soon as possible. So it's important to understand how to use acronyms. Now let's continue with our article. Inside the Horizon Worlds platform, Meta is struggling to keep users engaged with glitchy features and empty worlds. Meta is the company that owns Facebook and the company that owns Metaverse. Remember, Metaverse is the virtual reality world created by Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg created the company Meta. And Horizon Worlds platform, I'm assuming this is the platform where the metaverse is hosted. Let's look at this, glitchy. This is a great adjective to add to your vocabulary, especially when we're talking about technology. Now, glitchy, this is an adjective, and we use this when something doesn't work properly. So something doesn't work properly, or you could say it doesn't work as it should. So let's say you have an app that is supposed to organize your photos for you, but the app doesn't organize them properly. It doesn't put the correct dates together. It doesn't put the correct users together. Whenever you go on the app, you open it and then it shuts down and it causes your whole phone to freeze and restart. It's not working properly. It's not working as it should. Then you could say this app is glitchy. glitchy. So as an adjective here, you could say something and then you use the verb to be, and then you use our adjective glitchy. Now, of course, you need to conjugate your verb. So you could say these features are glitchy, and you would conjugate your verb. Notice the pronunciation, glitchy, glitchy, glitchy. A great adjective specific for technology. Let's continue on. With a $400 price tag to access the platform via the Quest 2 headset, the metaverse isn't yet accessible to the casual user. Those who do get a chance to try the tech experience baffling branded content, persistent bugs, and empty worlds with no user interactions. All right, we have another great adjective here. Baffling, baffling. Again, this is an adjective, and we know it's an adjective because it's describing our noun. They experience content. What type of content? Baffling content. In this case, we actually have two adjectives because branded is functioning as an adjective. Branded simply means that you see the company's brand when you're on the app. So you're on the app and you might see the Meta logo, the Facebook logo, or on the bottom it says Metaverse, powered by Metaverse. And maybe you see that brand a lot. So that's branded content. Now, baffling, this is another word for confusing, confusing. It's a great adjective to have, confusing. Now, you could also, again, use it with the verb to be and say, I am baffled by the content. So here, this is in the passive form, and it's in the passive form because the subject is receiving the action. I'm baffled. If it were the active form, you could say, the content baffles me. The content baffles me. So here we're using it as a verb, to baffle. To baffle. And then we commonly use to baffle someone. And remember, it's the same as confuse. So the content confuses me. I'm confused by the content. Now, we also, as you saw, can use it as an adjective. And you can say the content is baffling. Baffling. So notice our different forms. Adjective, and then we have it as an active verb, and our passive verb. Of course, in the passive form, you need the verb to be. So you could say she is baffled by the content. And if it were in the past, you could say she was baffled by the content. So definitely add this word to your vocabulary and get comfortable with the different ways you can use it. Persistent, this is a great adjective as well. When something is persistent, it means it lasts a long time. It lasts longer than you want or longer than you expect. So they're saying the bugs in a technology world and technology vocabulary, bugs are problems. So again, you can say there are a lot of bugs with the software. There are a lot of problems with the software. We generally use this specifically with technology vocabulary. So persistent bugs, this means bugs that last a long time, longer than expected, needed, or wanted. So persistent bugs. That's a great adjective as well. Let's start our next paragraph. Even employees appear not to enjoy the platform, saying there is a quality problem. Last month, in response to user complaints, Meta put the Horizon platform into lockdown, pausing the rollout of new features while it works to improve the user experience of existing elements in the virtual reality world, the Wall Street Journal reported. So remember here, we have our acronym, which was WSJ. You just take the first letter from each word. The Wall Street Journal, the WSJ reported. Now, everyone knows what lockdown is because, of course, we all experience that. So, when you put the platform into lockdown, you're basically freezing it. You're not allowing anything new to happen. You're keeping it in a static state. This is a great expression here. The rollout of. This means the introduction of new features. So introduction. So for example, we could say the company is rolling out new features this month. Our phrasal verb roll out, this simply means introduce. The company is introducing new features. Now, because this is our verb, you can conjugate this in different subjects, of course, or in different conjugations in different time references. So right now we have this in the present continuous because it's taking place right now, this month, or in the near future, depending on the context. But if it's already completed, you could say the company rolled out new features. Now, what do I need to do with this month? Last month, because it's in the past simple. So I can't use this month if I view this month as a future action. The company rolled out new features last month. Technically, I could say this month if, for example, right now it is the 15th, for example, but the features were introduced on the 5th. Now, that is in the past, but it's still this month. So you can say this month with a past simple as long as you're talking about a time period that is complete. That's in the past. All right, so roll out, that's a great business vocabulary. We generally use this with companies, but you could use it, for example, with the government. You could say the government plans to roll out its new tax credit next year, for example. So I want to show you our phrasal verb in a different sentence structure. Here it's in the infinitive. Plan to roll out its new tax credit. We need its without the apostrophe because it's possessive. If you have it with the apostrophe, it is, which is grammatically incorrect. It's new tax credit next year. So again, this simply means introduce. Let's continue on. Internal statistics, WSJ reported, indicate that only 9% of worlds built by users are ever visited by at least 50 people, while most never receive any visits at all. Indicate is a more formal way of saying said. Internal statistics said that. So indicate that. Now here we have it in the present simple form. Of course, you could put it in the past, indicated, because it's a verb. So instead of saying said, you can use indicate. That's a more formal word. Another more formal choice that's great for your academic or business vocabulary could be state. Internal statistics state that. Indicate that, state that. Those are both more formal ways of simply saying say. Only 9% of worlds built by users are ever visited by at least 50 people. So here, at least, this is taking our number and saying 50 is the minimum. At least 50. There could be more than 50, but there isn't less than 50. So you might say, we need to finish at least 50% of the project today. So this means a minimum of 50%. It's great if you finish 55%, 60%, 70%, or even 100%. That's okay. But if you finish 40%, that's not okay, because you need at least 50%, a minimum of 50%. Let's continue on. Internal documents show Meta has fallen far short of its goals for regular monthly users. The company initially had set a goal of 500,000 monthly users by the end of 2022, but has changed that figure to 280,000. The documents show the platform has less than 200,000 current users. All right, so notice our numbers. I know sometimes students have difficulty with numbers. Your best thing to do is go into a numbers-based article, something with a lot of statistics, and just practice those numbers. 500, and then 3 zeros represent 1,000. 500,000. Now, we don't add an S to the number because the S is here. The plural is on users. So I do not say 500,000s. Thousands with an S at the end. I don't say that. You say 500,000 users. So our plural is on users. 280,000. Now you do not need to say and. You do not need to say 280,000. No. 280,000. And again, no S. 200,000. Again, our S is here. Let's look at this. To fall short. To fall short. This is a great expression. We set a big goal, but we fell short. Now notice, here in the article, they say set a goal. So with goal, the verb you use is set. We don't really say I made a goal. I made a goal to reach 500,000 users. The best choice for the verb is I set a goal. I set a goal. So we set a big goal, but we fell short. What does this mean? This means you did not reach your goal. So when you fall short, you don't achieve your objective. To fall short. To fall short, you don't reach your objective, whatever your objective is. It could be to get a specific mark on the IELTS, or it could be to get a promotion next year, or to read a certain number of books this month. But if you don't reach your objective, you can say, oh, I fell short. Now notice here, they have an adverb, far. They fell far short. So this is just saying, how short did you fall? How far away were you from accomplishing the goal? So let's say the goal is here and they were way, way, way back there. You could say they fell far short. But maybe if they were close right here, you wouldn't use the word far because they were somewhat close. So for this one, I would say you don't need to use it. It isn't that commonly used, but the expression is to fall short. And notice here, what verb is it conjugated with? Meta has fallen short. Has fallen short. It's the present perfect. So we have, I fell short. That's in the past. I've fallen short. That's in the present present perfect. And this is the past simple. Let's continue on. Most users generally don't return to the app after the first month, while more than half of Quest 2 headsets are out of use within 6 months, WSJ reported. So here, within 6 months. This is saying 6 months or less. So it could be 5, 5.5, 4, 3, but not 7 or more, or even not 6.5 or more. So 6 months or less. So your boss might say, we need to roll out the new feature within 2 weeks. So it could be 1.5 weeks, 1 week, 3 days, but it can't be 2.5 weeks. So it can be less than 2 weeks, but it cannot be more than if you say within. In light of the low user retention, feature glitches, and high cost of access, Insider previously reported some investors have raised questions about Meta's $15 billion investment in Reality Labs, the business segment responsible for the metaverse. This is a great expression here. In light of, and then you have something. Now, when we use this, it means you're considering the something. So the something here is the low user retention. It's another way of saying because of. That's how you can think of it in the most simplest context. Because of the low user retention. When we consider, when we acknowledge, because of. It's a more formal way, and it's a great expression to have to your more formal vocabulary, your business vocabulary or your academic vocabulary. You can say, in light of the weather, we canceled our trip. And you probably recognize this more with because. Because of the weather, we canceled our trip. Now, this is a more everyday context, so I would likely use because of. In light of sounds a little too formal. So what I would do is probably change this to a more professional context and say, in light of the recession, we postponed the rollout. So the rollout is the introduction of the new features. Currently, it's unclear where the metaverse fits in the investment framework, WSJ reported. Dare Obasanjo, lead product manager for Horizon and the metaverse platform, wrote in a memo. We are overdue for a reassessment of how we invest and allocate resources. Let's look at this. We are overdue. The sentence structure is to be overdue for and then something. This means that the something is taking longer than you expected. The something should have happened sooner. So they're saying if they're overdue for a reassessment, it means we should have reassessed earlier. Reassessing is taking too long. So you might say, our company is overdue for a new marketing proposal. So this marketing proposal should have been introduced or rolled out sooner. It's taking too long. So that's another great business expression. Now, you can use this in a more everyday context because you might say, my assignment is overdue, which means that your assignment is late. That's basically what it means to be late. It means that you should have submitted that assignment sooner. You should have submitted it sooner. It's late. My assignment is overdue. This paper is overdue. It's late. You should have submitted it sooner. So a very useful expression. So that's the end of our article. Now you know a little bit more about Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. And are you going to use the metaverse? Have you used the metaverse? You can share that in the comments below. And I hope you enjoyed this article. Amazing job with that article. Now feel free to take a break. If you like, get a cup of tea and then come back and we'll move on to the next article. Welcome to our article. The title is Anna May Wong. Who is this woman? Does she look familiar to you? Doesn't look familiar to me. Anna May Wong, actress, becomes first Asian American on U.S. currency. Now, currency. This is another word for money. So currency is just describing the money. In the US, currency is in dollars or coins, in paper bills or coins. So currency is another word for money. Actress Anna May Wong is set to become the first Asian American to be featured on US currency. Basically what the title said. Now here, this is a great expression, to be set to become. So what do you notice here? What is this? To become. This is an infinitive, And what kind of verb is this? Well, of course, the verb to be, right? Now, this is important because it helps you understand the sentence structure for expressions, because this expression is formed with the verb be and then set be set, and then we have our infinitive. Now, in this case, the infinitive is to become, but we could change the infinitive verb to something else. And then notice we have our verb conjugated with our subject. Who's the subject? Anna May Wong, of course. So our subject is she, and that's why it is. She is set to become. Now, what does this mean? Be set to and infinitive. So this simply means be ready to or be prepared to. So you can use it in the same way. You might say, for example, I'm set to present at tomorrow's meeting. So my verb to be is conjugated with the subject I. We have our verb set, which doesn't change. And then we have our infinitive. In this case, my verb is present, and the infinitive doesn't change also. So the only thing you're conjugating is the verb to be. I'm set to present at tomorrow's meeting. Now, native speakers will frequently add the word all for no reason at all. It doesn't add anything to the meaning of it. I'm all set. I'm all set to go to the mall. I'm ready to go to the mall. You don't have to do that. It's just optional. So you could say, I'm set to go to the airport, for example. I'm ready to go. I'm prepared to go. She will appear as part of an effort to feature notable women on American Quarters. Wong, who is considered the first Chinese American film star in Hollywood, is the fifth and final woman to be individually featured on the coin this year. Okay, on the coin. What coin are we talking about? A little listening comprehension quiz for you. On the coin. The coin. Which coin? Well, the coin is here. The quarter. This could be tricky for you if you're not familiar with American currency, which again means money. So quarter is a type of coin, which is why we have it here. And the value is 25 cents or 0.25 of a dollar. That's the value of a quarter. So it doesn't get you very much. Now, I want to talk about pronunciation because I hear a lot of mistakes with the pronunciation of women. This is, well, I'll ask you, is this singular or plural? Singular or plural? Women. Notable women. This is plural. So one woman, two women. I want you to notice my pronunciation. One woman, woman. Two women. Two women. One woman, two women. Good pronunciation tip for you to practice. All right, now keep in mind this quarter because I know there's a picture of the quarter below, so you'll get to see this. And remember, a quarter is a coin and it's currency and it's worth 25 cents or 0.25 of a dollar. The quarter will enter general circulation on Monday. To enter general circulation, this is a very formal way of saying will be used by people. So you will get it when you go to a store, when you go to the bank, you will receive it. I don't think you really need to know that for your vocabulary. It's quite formal, but for listening comprehension, for reading comprehension, now you know what it means. It, what does the it represent? It, the quarter, that's the it. It, the quarter, will feature President George Washington on one side and Wong on the other. So we have this coin. There's two sides of the coin. One side is the president, the other side, Wong. Ventris Gibson, director of the U.S. Mint, called Wong a courageous advocate who championed for increased representation and more multidimensional roles for Asian American actors. Now here, this is a good word to have in your vocabulary. It's quite formal, but we use this often in a business context, and you will see it a lot when you're reading anything from the news. So you hear, in this case, they're using it as a noun. She was an advocate. Notice I have a courageous advocate because right now advocate is separated by my adjective courageous. So because of that, this is our adjective. Because of that, I need my article a because a goes with courageous. But if I just have advocate and no adjective in front of it, then I need an advocate. Because we use an when you have a vowel sound before, an advocate. So you can say she was an advocate. This is the noun. We very commonly use this as a verb form. She advocated for Asian American actors. She advocated for. When you advocate for, notice our preposition choice here. You don't advocate to, advocate on, advocate in. You advocate for. When you're learning vocabulary, it's very helpful to learn the prepositions when you learn the words, because if you don't use the correct preposition, it will be grammatically incorrect and it won't sound very good either. She advocated for Asian American actors. So you can advocate for someone. This would be a someone, a group of people. You can also advocate for something. So you might say she advocated for increased representation. So this is a something. Our preposition doesn't change. We still need for in both cases, something, increased representation, or someone, Asian American actors. And when you advocate for someone or something, you act as a representative for them, a supporter for them. You want to promote their views and you want to promote their cause, whatever that cause may be. So you're supporting them. It's just a more formal way of saying it, but very common in a newspaper context. You'll hear it a lot in the media, and it is a good business verb to have as well. This quarter, we're going to see the quarter. Are you excited? Dun, dun, dun. Here's the quarter. So remember, this is worth 25 cents or 1/4 of a dollar, 0.25 of a dollar, 1/4. That's why it's called quarter. So this is a coin. Remember, coin, a coin. The name of the coin is a quarter. There are different coins in American currency. And remember, currency is money. So this is a type of currency, and the type of coin it is a quarter. This is a very nice quarter, isn't it? So if you're in the US right now, you can go to a store, go to a bank, and you might receive this coin. You might receive this quarter. That would be pretty cool. And remember, on the other side, we have President, who was it? George Washington, I believe. This quarter is designed to reflect the breadth and depth of accomplishments by Anna May Wong, who overcame challenges and obstacles she faced during her lifetime, she said. Let's look at breadth and depth. Now, breadth is the range. So if someone has a breadth of knowledge, it means their knowledge is wide on many different subjects. And depth, you can think of as this way. So you have all these different subjects. Let's say one subject is politics, and then you have your depth of politics. So you know many different subjects. That's your breadth of knowledge. And then within each subject, you know a lot about that subject, and that's your depth. So that's a great expression we have. We usually use breadth and depth in terms of knowledge. Here you can see they're doing it with accomplishments. So she could have a breadth of accomplishments, maybe accomplishments as an actress, accomplishments as a teacher, accomplishments as an advocate. And then within each accomplishment, she has a depth of accomplishment. So she has many different times that she advocated, or many different times that she was a successful actress. Here's our lovely quarter again. I'd really like to see one in person now. Let's move on. Wong was born in Los Angeles in 1905. 1905. Notice how I'm pronouncing this as O. The number is 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. I have $0 in my bank account. Hopefully you don't need to say that. I have $0 in my bank account. Hopefully not you. Now, of course, that is this 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. But I wouldn't say 1905. I would for dates. Let me continue here with our date. So with date, you pronounce it as O. That's the pronunciation. 1905. 1905. That's the pronunciation here. But if I'm telling someone my phone number, I might say, I could say 0019 if this was part of my phone number, or 0019. So you could do either with a phone number, 0 or O. Both of them are quite common, to be honest. So with phone numbers, addresses, even, I live at 0019 or 0019. Addresses, money, you would say 0. So for money, you would definitely say 0. But for dates, we would say 1905. Wong was born in Los Angeles in 1905 to Chinese immigrants. Her name at birth was Wong Liu Sung. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But later in life, she adopted the stage name of Anna May Wong. And I'm sure this is exactly why she changed her name, because Americans don't know how to pronounce that, unfortunately. Formed by joining her English and family names. She was cast in her first role at 14 as an extra in the film The Red Lantern, and continued to take on smaller parts until her lead role in The Toll of the Sea in 1922. You probably don't know these movies. Maybe you do. I don't know these movies. Let's look at this here. What did I want to show you? Okay, first of all, when you're cast in a movie role, this is a verb specific for the entertainment industry. So you can be cast in a TV show, a play, a movie, anything that you perform in. And that is used for the entertainment industry. It means that she was hired for the job, but they don't use this vocabulary in the entertainment industry. This is why when you're learning a language, it's so important to understand the specific industry you're in and then learn the terms and the vocabulary of that industry. If you're in the medical industry, or if you're a lawyer or an engineer, you're going to have very specific vocabulary to your industry, and you need to learn that vocabulary. So if you're in the entertainment industry, you should probably already know this verb, to be cast in a role. So anyone else would just say she was hired for the job. This is in a regular context, not the entertainment industry. Okay, here we have a great phrasal verb, to take on, to take on. When you take something on, you accept responsibility for a project or a task. In this case, she accepted responsibility for a part, which is a part of a movie. So she was in the movie for a portion of time. Your boss, for example, might say, can you take on this client? Which means, can you accept responsibility for this client, for this job? Or, I took on too many projects last month. So last month you said, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. You accepted responsibility for different tasks or different assignments, but it was too much. Or you might say, sorry, I can't take that on right now. I already have a lot on my plate. I'm teaching you a bonus expression right here. The expression is to have a lot on and then one's plate. The one in this case is me, so I'm changing it to my. But I might say you have a lot on your plate. She has a lot on her plate. He has a lot on his plate. They have a lot on their plate. Now that means to be very busy. To have a lot on one's plate is an idiom, and it means to be very busy. So that could be the reason why you can't take that on, that being whatever project it is. I can't take on that project. I can't take that on. I have a lot on my plate. So that's a great idiom for you to start using. She appeared in more than 60 movies across her career. That's a lot of movies. That's impressive, including silent films and one of the first made in Technicolor. Interesting. Wong was also the first Asian American lead actor in a U.S. television show, The Gallery of Madame Louison, in which she played a Chinese detective. After facing discrimination in the U.S., she traveled to Europe to work in English, French, and German films. I like this expression here. After, and then you have a gerund. This is a great sentence structure for you to use to sound quite advanced. So you can say, after graduating, I moved abroad. After improving my English, I took on more public speaking. So you accepted responsibility for, I took on more public speaking. After improving. Now you could absolutely say, after I improved, and then everything else would be the same. But notice in this case, we're using a gerund verb. And in this case, I'm using subject, and then my verb is going to be conjugated in the past simple because the action is complete. After I graduated, I moved abroad. After graduating, I moved abroad. To me, this sounds very natural. It has a nice flow to it, and it sounds more advanced than saying after I graduated. So I highly recommend you add this to your vocabulary. Remember, it is after plus gerund. After plus gerund, which is your verb in ing. How much do we have? Okay, we're almost done here. She was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960 and died the following year, aged 56. Gemma Chan, known for appearing in Crazy Rich Asians and Marvel's Eternals, is set to portray Wong in an upcoming biopic about the star's life. Oh, so we're going to have a movie coming out about Wong in the near future. Now, here's our expression again, is set to. What does this mean? Is prepared to or ready to. And remember, it's to be set and then infinitive. So here our infinitive is to portray, and our verb to be is conjugated with he, she, it, because what's the subject in this case? Our subject is Gemma Chan. Our subject is quite far removed from our verb, which happens a lot in spoken English, of course, but it happens equally in written English. All of this in the commas is just extra additional information, but our subject is Gemma Chan and our verb is conjugated with the subject. She's ready to portray Wong. The American Women Quarters Program. So this is one name of something. The American Women Quarters Program. Remember our pronunciation of women. Women. The American Women Quarters Program began this year and will feature 5 women each year until 2025. Native Hawaiian hula teacher Edith Kanakaole has been named as one of the selections for 2023. So they're talking about a different quarter. So remember our quarter. So in 2023 is going to be the Hawaiian hula teacher who's going to be on the quarter. So you can look out for that as well. Has been named as one of the selections for 2023. So that's the end of the article. There was one other thing I wanted to explain before we wrap up, which means to end. Before we wrap up, before we end, the following year, aged 56. I see a lot of mistakes with age. So you can say she was 56 when she died. So this is correct. You can also say she was 56 years old when she died. That is correct. How about this one? She was 56 years when she died. What do you think? She was 56 years when she died. Is this correct or incorrect? What do you think? This is incorrect. You can't say that. I see this a lot. So you have two options when saying age. You can say just the number, 56. She was 56. Or you can include years old. 56 years old. Those are your two options. This is not correct. You cannot just say years. You either have to get rid of it or you have to add old. But this by itself is not correct. So make sure you don't say that one. And that is the end of the article. So I hope you enjoyed learning about our actress who is on The Quarter, Anna May Wong. And remember, you can watch that upcoming movie about her that's going to be played by Gemma Chan. So that will be quite interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the article. Amazing job with that article. Are you ready to move on to the next one? Let's do it. Welcome to our article. You may recognize this man. He's the new British Prime Minister. The title of our article is Inside the Fortune of Britain's New Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his wife Akshata Murthy. Now, right off the bat, let's look at this because we're going to see this a lot in the article. The fortune, inside the fortune of. What is this? Well, fortune is a noun. Let me get my pen out. Fortune is a noun. And this simply means a large amount of money. So it's a very good thing. You definitely want to have a fortune in your bank account or to your name. So a fortune, this is a noun, and it's a large, let me move myself, a large amount of money. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to just be cash. It could be money, assets in the form of goods, such as property. So we'll see here about his wife, Akshata. Her goods are in the form of investments, of stocks, ownership in companies, which when you sell that, it becomes money. But for now, it's considered a good, and it can also be property. So if you own many different homes around the world and you sold all of those, you would have likely a large amount of money. So you could say a fortune. Now, we use this a lot. You might say, for example, she inherited a fortune when her grandmother died. So she inherited a large amount of money. But remember, it could have been property or it could have been goods as well. She inherited a fortune. We also say she's worth a fortune. So here, to be worth, this is just how much money or assets you have. And by saying a fortune, we're talking about a large amount. She's worth a fortune. So the new Prime Minister of Britain is worth a fortune. The UK's new Prime Minister and his wife, the daughter of an Indian tech billionaire, have a collective net worth higher than the personal fortune of King Charles III. So here we're seeing our noun again, the personal fortune. So this is the amount of money, goods, or property belonging to King Charles. Now notice here we have an article. Just remember that this is an exception, Proper nouns like the names of countries, the names of people, the names of cities don't take an article. But there are exceptions. And UK, we don't say UK is a beautiful country. We say the UK is a beautiful country. Just like we say can you think of another one with an exception? Obviously the USA, right? We don't say USA. We say the USA is a beautiful country. But then we would say Switzerland is a beautiful country. We would not say the Switzerland. No. Just Switzerland. So remember, this is an exception, adding an article to a proper noun. You just have to memorize which countries take an article. There aren't very many. All right. Now, notice here, have. Our conjugation is in the form have. Remember, has for he, she, it, and then have for I have, you have, we have, they have. But what's the subject here? Because it can be difficult when your subject is separated from your noun. So here, all of this information is additional information. It doesn't have anything to do with the conjugation of our noun. Our subject is the UK's new prime minister, which is this man, and his wife. So what's the subject? This man and his wife. They. That's the subject. And that's why we have. They have a collective net worth. So all of this equals they as a subject. So always ask yourself when you're thinking about what verb do I need, always ask yourself, what's my subject? And it's easiest to turn it into I, you, he, she, it, we, or they to understand the conjugation. After winning the contest for leadership of the Conservative Party, Rishi Sunak is set to become the United Kingdom's next Prime Minister. That will make him the most powerful person in the country. The 42-year-old former finance minister and investment banker is already among the UK's richest, largely thanks to the fortune held by his wife, Akshata Murthy. Let's look at this. What do you notice about our verb? Our verb is winning. What's the conjugation here? It is in the gerund form. Gerund. This is a gerund, and you know that because we have our verb, and then you add ing. Verb plus ing. Now, why? Why is this in the gerund form? Why not the present simple? Why not the past simple? Because of the word after. And what is so important about the word after that requires a gerund verb? Do you know? It's a preposition. And we always use a gerund verb after preposition. So preposition plus gerund. We have after, so we put winning. After winning the contest for leadership. Okay. The most powerful person in the country. Notice here, we have the 42-year-old. This is being used as an adjective. We could say, he is 42 years old. And notice I have the S on years because it's more than one. So it's plural. And you need to add the S to plural nouns. Plural nouns, you add S or ES. But this is not a noun. It's an adjective, and we don't add S's to adjectives. So this is an adjective. The former finance minister. What type of former finance minister? We're providing more information by stating his age. The 42-year-old. So you might say, for example, the 50-year-old movie, or the 100-year-old house, for example. So these are being used as adjectives, because I could say the 100-year-old. So I could get rid of that, and it's just the house. What type of house? I'm going to provide more information. The 100-year-old house. The movie. What type of movie? The 50-year-old movie. Adjectives. So here we see the fortune held by his wife. Held is just saying that it belongs to her. I like this here, thanks to. Of course, you know how to use the word thank you. Thank you for your compliment. Thank you for, I'll just do an easier one. Thank you for the gift. Something everybody understands. Thank you for the gift. You can never say, first of all, you can never say thanks you. That is always incorrect. You have to say thank you, but you could also say thanks for the gift. Notice my preposition choice is for. Thanks for. Thank you for. But what do you notice up here? Thanks to. Because it's being used in an entirely different way. Sure, we have the word thanks, but I'm not showing appreciation. Here's how this is used. Thanks to something or someone. This is the sentence structure. We only use thanks. In this case, you cannot say thank you to, okay? Thank you to someone or something. You cannot say that. So I'm going to cross this out. You can't say this. This is incorrect. So what does this expression mean? Thanks to someone or something. Let me give you an example sentence. Thanks. Thanks to Jennifer's amazing lessons, I've improved my English. Or you could say, I got the job. I got the job. I was offered the job. Thanks to Jennifer's amazing lessons. So the easiest way to understand what this means, and notice here, this is a something. Even though it has my name, it's not a someone because it's actually thanks to the lessons, but I'm just saying which lessons, and I'm providing more information. Thanks to Jennifer's amazing lessons, I got the job. What we can do is change the sentence structure and use a different word to understand the meaning. I got the job. Jennifer's amazing lessons. Do you know how I would complete this? Do you have any idea what I would put here? I got the job because of. We're providing the reason why. Now notice in this structure, we're just reversing it. So the reason why comes before the result. This is the result, and this is the reason why. So you might say, I'll give you one more example sentence. I'm running out of room here. I could say, Thanks to COVID, I had to cancel my vacation. So notice this is a negative. The word thanks in your mind, you probably think it's always a positive. And it is when I say thank you, but this is a totally different sentence structure. Thanks to something or someone, this is a something, I'm providing the reason why. I had to cancel my vacation because of COVID. Thanks to COVID, I had to cancel my vacation. I highly suggest you practice this in the comments below because it's a very common sentence structure. It will help you sound very advanced. So try it both ways. Write it with thanks to and then change it and use because of. That will really help you feel comfortable using this sentence structure. So try that in the comments. And let's continue on. Did I read this all yet? No, I did not. Okay, Murthy, 42. That's how old she is. Sometimes in articles, you will just see the number Murthy, 42. That's her age. Murthy, 42, is the daughter of N.R. Narayana Murthy, the co-founder and retired chairman of Indian tech giant Infosci, whose net worth is estimated by Forbes at $4.5 billion. Billion, and then I say the word dollars with an S because it's plural. And notice how I vocalize this. 4.5. 4.5. $4.5 billion. Her own 0.93% stake in the publicly traded digital services consulting firm is worth $715 million. Then I vocalize the S, making up the vast majority of her and Sunak's combined fortune. Altogether, Forbes estimates Sunak and his wife, Murthy, are worth roughly $810 million. More than $250 million richer than the $500 million personal fortune of King Charles III. Sunak and Murthy didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Okay, all of this is talking about what? Their fortune, a large amount of money. Obviously, when we're getting into millions and we're talking about billions here, we can definitely consider that a fortune. I like this. This is quite common to add the vast majority. The word vast isn't needed, honestly, because majority already means 75%, 80%, the largest portion. Vast is just emphasizing that, the vast majority. So instead of 75%, which is a majority is basically anything over 50. But vast, we could probably say anything over 75. So that word is there simply to make it stronger. So this is to emphasize the word majority. You do see this a lot, the word, the vast majority of the fortune. All right, and just remember how we vocalized the point and the word dollars when we're talking about money. Let's move on here. As the new Prime Minister, Sunak will now move to 10 Downing Street, next door to his former residence when he served as Boris Johnson's Chancellor from February 2020 to July this year. He'll also have access to Chequers, the sitting Prime Minister's 16th century countryside retreat in Buckinghamshire. All right. go back for a second here. Okay, I just wanted to point this word out as our preposition to. But how is it being represented? Because we have February 2020 to July. So when we're talking about a range, so you can think of that range just as, let's just say X to Y, and we use the preposition to. And this is when we're expressing a range. So you might say, for example, today I'm unavailable from to, I'll say 4 to 6. 4 to 6. Now notice, I forgot to add this word because it's not just X to Y, it's from X to Y. I changed, at first I had 2, but I changed it to 4 simply because for teaching purposes, 2 to 6. So the pronunciation is exactly the same, 2 to 6, but a native speaker is going to pronounce this 2 more of a reduced sound and is going to sound like t. So if I do have the number 2, I would say I'm unavailable from 2 to 6, t. 2 to 6, 2 to 6, 4 to 6, 3 to 6, 12 to 6, 12 noon, noon to 6, whatever your time may be. You might say, I'm on vacation from Monday to Friday, for example, Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday. That's simply how a native speaker is going to pronounce this in a natural conversation. You don't have to pronounce it like that. You can definitely say Monday to Friday and pronounce it fully. Just get comfortable with hearing it as a reduced sound. Monday to Friday. Let's move on to our last page of the article. But much like the British monarch, Sunak and Murthy, who married in August 2009 in a 2-day ceremony in Bangalore, India, and have 2 daughters, have their own personal real estate portfolio. The couple owns 4 homes spread across the UK and California, worth an estimated $18.3 million. So remember what I was talking about before when our subject is far removed from the next part of our sentence. So here, again, we have. That's exactly the same verb and conjugation we saw before. Now, notice our verb is here, but where is the subject? It's actually quite divided. So we take away all the information between these dashes, and our subject is actually right here. So again, in written form, in spoken form as well, our subject can be far removed from the verb. So when you're writing or when you're speaking, you have to remember what your subject is when you're thinking about your verb conjugation. Of course, this is a lot easier to do in writing because you can think about it. In spoken English, you have to just say it instantly so you don't have as much time to think. That's why it's so helpful to practice in written form. Get comfortable with this. Okay, let's move on to, I believe, our last section. Some of Murthy's business ventures haven't been as successful. She had a fashion label based in California, Akshata Designs, which she set up in 2010 and shut down 2 years later. Murthy is also a director at and owns a small stake in boutique gym chain Digme Fitness, which was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic and was forced to shut 2 of its 6 locations earlier this year. All right, so here we have the phrasal verb shut down and set up. This is perfect because they're opposites. And it's great because if you understand the meaning of one, you can just think, okay, what's the opposite of that meaning? And then you know the opposite. So you've learned 2 phrasal verbs in one. So that's awesome. To set something up in a business context, you always have to think, what's my context? In this case, we're talking about a business, a company. You could also think of, for example, a new project or a new area of an existing business. But when I'll just say to set a business up because that's the context. This simply means to establish, which is, I guess, a more formal way of simply saying to start. To set the business up. So she set up Akshata Designs. She established it. She started it. She created it. She set it up, it being the business. So she set Akshata Designs up in 2010. The sentence structure is just simply different, which she set up in 2010. So if set up is to establish or start, then what is shut down? It's the opposite. So what's the opposite of to start? It's to end. So when you shut down a business, you permanently close it. This phrasal verb became very widespread during the pandemic because a lot of businesses had to shut down. They had to permanently close. So let me write this out for you. Let me move myself here. So to shut a business down is to permanently close. So this is a great set to practice in the comments below because you have to set up and then you have the opposite to shut down. Now notice we have the preposition in before you state the date. Was set up in the fall, the spring, was set up in March, was set up in 2012, for example. Okay, and finally, our last paragraph. It's unclear how much Sunak earned in finance, but his new gig as Prime Minister comes with a sizable pay bump. He'll now make more than $185,000 a year, nearly double his $95,000 wage as a member of Parliament. All right. A pay bump is a pay increase. So that's just another way of saying a pay increase, which means you're making more money. A pay bump, a pay increase. Sizable means large. And as you can see, it was more than double or nearly double. So that is sizable, nearly double. All right, so now you know all about the new Prime Minister and his wife, and you know about how he earned his fortune. So I hope you enjoyed this article. You are doing so awesome. Take a quick break if you need, and let's move on to the final article in this lesson. Welcome to my computer. As you can see, our famous landmark, the Statue of Liberty. So let's begin our article. The title is, "You Can Finally Climb on Top of the Crown of the Statue of Liberty Again." Now, just in case you don't know what the crown is, here's our Statue of Liberty. So the crown is this top part right here. And of course, it looks like what a king, queen, any royalty, what they wear on their head, that is the crown. So you could climb up to the crown. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Why was the Statue of Liberty crown closed until now? Let's find out. Following a 2.5-year closure caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the crown portion of the Statue of Liberty has officially reopened to the public this week. So let's look right here. 2.5 years. Now, 2.5, a half is, of course, 0.5, right? So 2.5, that is 2.5. But why does it say year? And why doesn't it say years? That's because right here, 2.5, this is an adjective. 2.5 years, this whole thing is describing what type of closure it was, okay? And that's why year does not have a plural, because adjectives don't have singular and plurals. This will make more sense if you look at it like, I took a 30-day vacation, okay? So notice here, I took a vacation. This is grammatically correct. What type of vacation? A short vacation, a long vacation, a relaxing vacation? All of those are adjectives. But I can also use a time period as an adjective. I took a 30-day vacation, a 30-month vacation, a 30-minute vacation. Compared to, I took a vacation for 30 days. Now here is our noun, 30 days, which needs to be singular or plural. If it were one day, obviously singular, 30, more than one, so days. That is why you don't have an S here. I hear this mistake a lot from students. What else? Oh, let's look at this. Reopened. When you add re in front of a verb, it means to do it again. Okay? So I could say, I rewatched the movie. I can't think of a movie name. I rewatched the movie. So this means I watched the movie again. I watched the movie again. So this is my verb, watch. It's just in the past simple, and I'm adding re. You can add a dash there, or you don't have to. It's optional in terms of spelling. I see it more commonly without the dash, but as you can see here in the article, they do have a dash. But your boss might say, hey, Julio, can you redo the report? Can you redo the report? He's asking you to do it again. Can you redo the report? So that's a very useful word to put in front of a verb. Notice the pronunciation. Redo, rewatch, reopen, remake. If you've been trying to visit the destination since March of 2020, though, you might have to wait a tad bit longer. Tickets to access the crown are basically sold out through October. Make sure to reserve your pass for a future date right here. So you can reserve your pass if you'd like. Okay, notice here, what verb tense is this? The present perfect continuous. Have or has, depending on the subject. You have is just a contraction, VE. So this is you have. you have equals you've as a contraction. Then we have been, and then we have our verb in ing. So that's the present perfect continuous. And we use this for an action that started in the past but continues until now. And we want to stress the continuation of the action. That's the ing. I've been trying to book my ticket since March, since 2020, since this morning. Now, you could also say for 2 hours, for 2 years, for 5 days. So when we have a period of time, we use for, and then we use since with a specific date. I like this one, a tad bit, a tad bit. This is a very natural vocabulary choice, and it means a little bit, a tad. So you might say, I was a tad late today. So here, I was late today. How late were you? Just a little, right? So you could say I was a little. That's very common. You probably know it. Here's a new fun natural expression that's very common. I was a tad late today. You need this article You might say, I'm a tad tired today. So this is saying I'm a little tired, or she's a tad hungry right now. Right now. She's a tad, a little, tad, add, tad. Don't forget that article. Let's move on. According to CNN, the National Park Service, which manages the landmark, was attempting to hold a soft reopening without too much advertisement in late October to celebrate the 136th anniversary of the statue's dedication in 1886. Okay, so here we have reopening again. Here we had reopen. Now we're having reopening. So they're opening it again, reopening. I don't think there's anything else I want to teach you here. If you have comments about any of this, just put your comments in the chat and I will try to answer them or record a future video. This is a good one. I hope you already use this in your vocabulary, but according to someone or something. This is a very professional, formal business vocabulary. The CNN is a newspaper, a media group. So that is considered a something. But you could have a someone according to Brad. Brad, the reporter with the CNN, according to Brad, according to my mom, according to my boss, according to the news report. So it can be a someone or a something. Don't forget this to, and don't forget it's an ing, according to. Alas, folks got so excited about the announcement that those in charge had no choice but to work on a full-fledged opening this month. You're probably wondering what this alas means. This is an adverb. It's a little bit outdated, to be honest. I don't think you'll hear it that often, but it is interesting. You might hear it in movies more so. It's an adverb to express disappointment, basically. Disappointment. So I might say, I wanted to go to the party, but alas, I had to work. So here, the sentence is correct without it. So it's not necessary, but I had to work. I wanted to go to the party, but I had to work. You don't know what my tone is. Am I upset that I missed the party? Am I relieved that I missed the party? If I add alas, you know I'm upset because it's used to express disappointment. I wanted to go to the party, but alas, I had to work. Alas, alas, but alas, I had to work. We had to hire people to get them up to speed to effectively run Crown Corporation's Jerry Willis, a spokesperson for Statue of Liberty National Monument and Ellis Island, said to CNN. Okay, we had to hire people. When you hire someone, it means you bring them into your company as an employee, as a worker. You give someone a job, right? So it's a very useful verb. This is a verb to give someone a job, to hire someone. Now, to get someone up to speed, to get someone up to speed. This is a great expression. This means to get someone up to speed. Okay, this means to give someone the information that they need to do the job or do the task. So if you were just hired to manage a project, but the project was already in progress, you need to know a lot of different things about that project. What is the timeline? What's the budget? Who's doing what? Who's in charge of what? What has already been accomplished? So if I share all that information with you, I'm doing it because I want to bring you up to speed. So this is the information you need to have, and this is the information you have. So I want to bring you up to speed, which means to make sure your knowledge is where it needs to be. Now, this is very commonly used with two verbs, to get someone up to speed or to bring someone up to speed. I think I used to bring someone up to speed in some of my examples because that's the one I use more frequently, but I also hear get someone up to speed. Both of these verbs are acceptable and they both have the same meaning. So this is an excellent expression, to bring someone up to speed, okay? To give someone the information they need to complete a task. Now that task might be a job. It could be something more casual as well. Why was the Statue of Liberty Crown closed? Great question. On March 16th, 2020, the National Park Service shuttered all operations at the Statue of Liberty in reaction to the pandemic. This is only used in a business context. The verb is to shutter, and this means to permanently close. To permanently close. So when a company or a business permanently closes, you can say the board shuttered that company. The board closed the company. The government shuttered that company. This could also be used in the passive. The company was shuttered. But again, this is very specifically a business verb. You won't use it outside of this context. Since then, although portions of the monument started welcoming visitors once more, the pedestal deck, for example, has been operating since July of 2021. The crown itself remained closed. I don't think there's anything there I need to teach you. Willis told CNN that a variety of factors contributed to the delayed reopening, including state and federal pandemic restrictions and dealing with a record low hiring pool. This is a useful expression, a record low. So of course you can have highs and lows. So let's say the average low is about here. Let's use the weather. So let's say in winter, in your city, the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. And that's the average temperature. But then one year, your city had a record low. So it went down to 5 degrees Celsius or 3 degrees Celsius. So that means it was a record. It was a new accomplishment, a noteworthy event. So a record low means lower than average, lower than normally it is. Now, a hiring pool. A hiring pool describes the amount of people available to be hired. And remember, we already learned what that meant up here. When you hire someone, you give them a job. So if I want to be hired, it means I want to receive a job. So to be hired. This is when you receive a job. To be hired, to receive a job. To hire someone is to give someone a job. These are two must-know verbs, and make sure you don't confuse them, because I could say, I was hired by the company. The company hired me. So passive, I'm receiving the job. Active, the company is giving the job. And remember, hiring pool is just the availability of people able to be hired. So maybe there are 100 people in the hiring pool, 100 people. But it could also be 1 million people. It could be 5 people. The number could be any number at all. So we'll just say 500 people. How do I get to the Statue of Liberty crown? Great question. Would-be visitors need to buy tickets in advance, which include a round-trip ferry ride to Liberty Island and usually a pit stop at the Ellis Island National Museum of Immigration as well. Certainly a must-see in of itself. All right. There's some great vocabulary here for travel vocabulary. Round trip. Round trip. So a round trip means you go and you return. A one-way trip is you go. That's it. So of course you need a round trip because you need to come back. It's an island. You can't be stuck on the island, right? So it makes sense that it's a round trip, but you might commonly purchase a one-way ticket to Spain because you want to stay in Spain for a longer period of time, or after that, you might go to another country, but you don't necessarily want to go to Spain and come back. If you do, then that's a round trip ticket to Spain. A pit stop. This is when you go from destination A to B, but you need to do something in the middle. So maybe I'm going from my house to my office, but I need to make a pit stop at the bank and take out some money or deposit some money. Or I need to make a pit stop at the grocery store and buy some milk. Or I need to make a pit stop at the mall and buy a new pair of shoes. So you're going from A to B, but then you stop somewhere before. So a pit stop. Pit is an adjective. It's just describing what type of stop. A pit stop. A temporary stop when going from point A to B. And it's a temporary stop for a specific purpose, such as to buy milk or to purchase something else or to drop something off. The passes will also grant you access to the Liberty National Monument, the pedestal and the crown of the monument, the Statue of Liberty Museum with its 3 interactive galleries, and the grounds of Liberty Island and Ellis Island. Once on premise, you'll have to climb 10 stories, that's 215 stairs to be precise, to reach the statue's pedestal, and another 162 stairs to actually get to the crown. In case you were wondering, there is an elevator, but it peaks at the pedestal portion of the monument. Needless to say, the extra workout to climb all the way to the top is absolutely worth it. All right, this is a must-know expression right here. To be worth it. Do you see the verb to be? Is right here. To be worth it. So you could say, climbing to the top is worth it. So this is our something. This is commonly used as a gerund expression. Notice here, climbing to the top. I might say visiting the top. That would be a good gerund verb. Visiting the top. What happened to the rest of mine? I don't know where the rest of the text went. Sorry about that. Visiting the top is worth it. Seeing the top, climbing to the top. So a gerund verb. Going to the top, taking pictures at the top is worth it. Now you could also say it's worth it to climb to the top. So you can absolutely say this, and it's grammatically correct. We're starting with our subject, our verb, worth it, and then to climb to the top. This is grammatically correct. This, I would say, is more common. So the exact translation would be climbing to the top is worth it. And this gives you the chance to use a more advanced structure and use a gerund verb. And let's look at right here as well. Needless to say. This is a very advanced expression. It will help you sound professional. Needless to say. This is an expression that means information isn't surprising. So it's expected. Needless to say, the extra workout to climb all the way to the top is absolutely worth it. So this is a way of saying climbing to the top is worth it. But that's not surprising, right? Because let's look at the top. If you came all the way to New York and you visited the Statue of Liberty, why would you stay down here at the bottom when you can go to the top? Wouldn't it be worth it to go to the top? Of course it would. Needless to say, it's not surprising. It's expected that I would say it's worth it. And of course, you would do that, right? I would totally want to go to the top. In fact, I've been to New York many times. I've been to the Statue of Liberty, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even know you could go to the top. So I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. And now I want to go to the top. What about you? Have you seen the Statue of Liberty in person? Did you know you could go to the top? Okay, needless to say, I might say, let's say it's been a very, very busy week at work, extremely busy, a record-breaking busy week. Now, I might say tomorrow is Friday, and needless to say, we all need a break. So it's Friday, which means it's the weekend. It's time for you to relax and recover from the busy, busy, busy week. And of course, I'm say we need a break, but That's expected. It's obvious we need a break because we just had a very busy week. Needless to say. I might even say something like, needless to say, as a language learner, it's important to expand your vocabulary. So my sentence is, as a language learner, it's important to expand your vocabulary. But I'm adding this expression to let you know, well, this isn't very surprising, is it? You know this. It's expected. Needless to say. An excellent expression to add to your vocabulary. And that is the end of our article. Amazing job with this lesson. Think of all the natural vocabulary, the advanced grammar, and the complex sentence structure, and even pronunciation that you learned in this lesson by reading these articles. If you found this lesson helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, jforrestenglish.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying!